The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. Page 269 of The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto by Mitch Albom. My name is Jess.
My name is Hannah.
And today is another day for a requested read.
Woo!
Oh,
Here we are. I'm so excited. I love this one. I cannot
me
wait.
too. It was a really good one. And this one was requested by Cheryl, aka Auntie Cheryl, aka at Oil Up and Shine On. Wonderful recommendation. Thank you very much. Yeah, so as usual with our requested reads, this will be a little bit of a shorter episode, just going over, this very specific book, our thoughts on it, etc., etc. So many feelings. Let's get into it.
We're going to get spoilery. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
So, do you want to give us our synopsis?
Absolutely. So, The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto by Mitch Albom. The description is: a Spanish war orphan born in a burning church and raised by a blind guitar teacher, Frankie Presto was gifted with extraordinary musical abilities that shape not only his life but the lives of those around him. At 9 years old, Frankie meets the love of his life, Aurora. That same day, civil war tears apart his home and he is sent to America, smuggled in the bottom of a boat with only a guitar and 6 strings imbued with power to change lives. Relying on music to survive, Frankie's talent weaves him through the musical landscape of the 20th century, from Detroit's jazz scene to the Grand Ole Opry.
I think it's Opry, but never trust me.
Okay. From Detroit's jazz scene to the Grand Ole Opry.
Oprah! Grand old Oprah.
I need to look this up right now. Hold on.
Oh.
We are 2 minutes in. Here we go.
This stays in.
Oh my god, I've been needing a good laugh. How do you say it though? Pronunciation. This is so embarrassing.
Wow. Did we prepare for this episode? Not really.
You know what? We did actually though, and that's embarrassing.
I mean, I wrote down like 6 quotes. Is that preparing? Sure. Is it preparing well? Who's to say?
Okay, wait, hang on. I got it. Let me try that again.
Start from the Grand Old Oprah.
Yeah. Relying on music to survive, Frankie's talent weaves him through the musical landscape of the 20th century, from Detroit's jazz scene and the Grand Ole Opry to Elvis Mania and Woodstock, all the while searching for Aurora. As his fame grows, Frankie finds love, friendship, and celebrity. Even so, his gift becomes his burden, driving a wedge between him and his beloved Aurora, now his wife. Overwhelmed by life, loss, and the power of his strings, Frankie disappears for years, only to re-emerge in a spectacular and mysterious farewell.
Bum, bum, bum.
I was just about to do the same thing.
Wow. You know what they say about great minds. They both have the tism.
I've never heard that. Nobody says that.
Oh, well, maybe they should. Anywho.
All right. Well, you want to start with star ratings. What did you rate it? What are your thoughts?
Yes. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Overall, I really enjoyed this one. I liked it more than I was anticipating. When I went in, I was expecting like a 3-ish. And yeah, so it surpassed my expectations, which is nice. Where did it lose marks? I've got a very specific pet peeve, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I do not appreciate when there are song lyrics written just for you to read. And how are you supposed to know what that song sounds like? How are you supposed to know the melody, the beat, the speed, the rhythm, any of it? I hate that. I hate it so much, because then I'm just like reading it in like my most monotonous of voices in my head, just going, yeah, great, cool, great concert. I hate that. And it pulls me out of it so hard. Like, I don't know if this is just a me thing where I'm just getting caught up on it, but pet peeve. So that's where it lost most of that star. But overall, wonderful story. not what I expected it to be at all. There was a lot more plot than I anticipated even. A lot more happened in the book than I thought was going to, which I greatly appreciated, which is where it kind of won those points that I didn't expect that it would. So that was really nice. And yeah, overall the characters very deep. They had a lot to relate to, like with their very humane flaws and things like that, which I'm sure we'll talk about more. But just as an overall, yeah, pretty darn good. Would recommend if you're looking for sort of a surreal contemporary.
Cool. I think that rating it 4 stars is a crime. I'll tell you what. Let me tell you what I think. And I texted you immediately after I finished it. I'm just going to go ahead and read out those texts. Okay. Because I feel like I couldn't capture that again. And so I'm just going to read it. So I texted you March 13th at 4:33 p.m.
Timestamp, people.
Yeah. Just finished Frankie Presto. I have no words other than this book is a treasure of an entirely separate kind, and it is now in my top 5 books of all time. And you texted me back and said, I gave it 4 stars, but I knew in my bones that this would be a 5 for you. And I said, how could it possibly be anything less than 5? 6 even. Actually, it transcends star ratings. This book moves my soul. This book is all the reasons why I want to be a writer. This book is laughter in the rain and mist over the mountains and rapture. This is what storytelling is. This is the most beautiful homage to the love of music and of art that I have ever read. This book is why we as humans are here at all. And then you said, I can't wait for how adorable you're going to sound talking about it. And here we are. So these were my thoughts. These are my feelings immediately upon finishing it. Mm-hmm. This book made me cry more than once. And I don't really cry at books very often. I think like fantasy as a genre has just desensitized me to horrendous things in books. And so I but this, I was just so moved. I was so moved by this book, and like the music and the pain and the examination of art and music being fundamental to who we are as human beings. 'Cause like humans have always been making music and art since like the beginning of time. Like I always say that there are 2 centers of the universe, art and mathematics. Okay. Everything in the known universe is either art or math or some kind of creative application of one of 2 of those things. Okay. Or both. So this book, just on the art side of it, felt like that to me. And I was so just absolutely taken with it. I'm so enamored. This is one of my favorite books of all time. I think this is second place. I think this topped The Glass Castle. The Glass Castle is now third. So we've got The Past is Red, we've got The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto, and then we've got The Glass Castle. Those are my top 3 favorite books of all time. Because oh my god, like the writing was beautiful. The description, the like serendipity of it all, the fact that it's narrated from the perspective of music personified. Are you kidding me? That is so good. And like the beauty and the heartbreak and the pain and the joy and the ways that like music, you know, can give and take away. And that was like the only consistent thing. And the guitar, he had it his whole life. That guitar went with him through everything.
I have a quote for this. I have a quote.
Yes. Okay. You go.
Page
I'm sorry. 98. I got so passionate just then.
No, this is what we want. Okay. This is what the people want. Okay. Page 98. Is this too fine a guitar for a boy so young? No, it must be with him the rest of his life. Why? Because I cannot be. And that was from his blind guitar teacher, which
spoilers is actually his
also
father,
his biological dad.
Yeah. Okay. Because
my god,
because he's born in the burning church.
Yeah.
And then the nun his mom dies in childbirth. The nun swaps clothes with the mother.
Yeah, because there are raiders that are like known for killing nuns, and they're currently raiding this church.
Yeah, like a civil war. Like Frankie's born in the middle of all of this. And so she takes Frankie and takes off. But then he's like a really problematic baby and he's always screaming and like...
I mean, he's starving. They're in poverty. It's bad. It's not a good situation.
Yeah, and so she desperately one day just tosses him into the river.
That was my first jaw drop.
Yeah, that was my first jaw drop too.
I was like, oh!
Yeah, but then a dog rescues him and pulls him out, and then the dog's owner, a hairless dog, the dog's owner takes him in basically and raises him as his own, and so gives him the name Rubio instead of Presto. Like his name was not originally Frankie Presto, it was Francisco Rubio. And so he was raised by this man, and then he, like one day, I forget how, he ends up getting a hold of music, or he sings or something like that. And like,
I think he's a really good singer. And then his like adopted dad, he's just like, hey, like you got a thing for music. And at some point, Frankie got his hands on like, I don't think it was a guitar, but it was something like smaller than a guitar. And so he goes, let's get you in guitar lessons, because you know what? If you can make music this good for the rest of your life, you're always going to have a job. And in a time where we are all living in poverty, that is gold.
Yeah. But all the music academies refuse him because he's too young. Except finally, his adopted dad takes him to this blind man who always used to play guitar at like the local like bars and things like that. And so he takes him there and convinces this blind man, like he lies about Frankie's age and says that he's 7 when he's actually 5. And the guy can't tell the difference. And so he just says, he's like, okay. And so he convinces this blind man to teach Frankie guitar. And so then the blind man becomes, he's called El Maestro. And so Maestro becomes Frankie's guitar teacher and like mentor. And then eventually when something happens to his adoptive dad, the blind man takes him in. But then the adoptive dad, like when the blind man goes to visit him in prison, the adoptive dad convinces him to send Frankie to America for like a better life. Yep. And so then that's what they do. And then that's what starts this whole saga of Frankie Presto.
But oh my gosh, boat scene. The boat scene. Oh my god. Okay, so when El Maestro takes Frankie to this boat, he was given a bunch of money by Frankie's adoptive dad, and it's like, hey, use this money, get him out of the country. They will kill him if they find out that he's my son because I'm in prison and this is like a terrible regime we're living under. So you need to get him out of the country. And El Maestro goes, okay, got it.
Oh my god, yeah. And then what kills me in that scene is that like the adoptive dad is like, you'll never know the pain of losing a child.
I know. And El Maestro just goes, you're right, because he hasn't told anybody. He never talks about it.
Yeah, because he lost, like, the woman who burned in the church and died during childbirth was his wife, and like Frankie's actually his son.
But they're actually both losing the same son.
Yeah, exactly. And then also, like, the adoptive dad, like, nobody knows this at this point. So the adoptive dad has no idea that Maestro has taken Frankie in and already started to love him as if he were his own son. And so, like he has no idea that he's saying to him, you have no idea what it is to lose a child. And El Maestro is just, like, keeping it to himself. But, like, he's about to know what it is to lose
Frankie
a child.
He has his own child at this point already, too. And it's just
like,
oh. But then,
then boat. Everything gets crazy.
Yeah, so he takes all this money, he brings Frankie to the boat, he talks to the sailors on the boat, and he goes, hey, this kid needs to get to, I think it's England. Eventually he wants him to get to America, but they're stopping in England on the way. And so he goes, hey, you can keep this much money, the rest has to go with the kid because he's a child, he needs fares, you know? And so El Maestro's friend accompanies them to the boat. They get Frankie on the boat, and there's still money in El Maestro's coat, okay? And as soon as Frankie has turned away and can't see them anymore, this friend, does he stab him, or does he just...
No, he takes the money and then shoves him off the dock.
Yeah. He steals the money and pushes El Maestro in the water. And then that's when the narrator music reveals to the reader that it's actually Frankie's biological father. Mm-hmm. And that was the point in which this book where I got very close to tearing up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I cried. I cried in my car.
I'm not surprised. It was...
I ugly cried in my car, yeah.
Whoo, whoo. Oh my God. That was a crazy, crazy scene.
The whole thing was a crazy scene. Are you kidding me? With the eggs, you need to find the eggs.
Oh my God.
There's later on, after he's reconnected with Aurora, who he meets and falls in love with while he's still in Spain when he's a little boy. He meets her and reconnects with her, and they get married and whatever. And so this is like the second time they've reconnected. But something happens where at this point he's into the substance use and is his fame is getting to him, and it started tearing them apart, and so because he didn't get up to go and get eggs to make breakfast for her because he was like hungover and passed out. Mm-hmm. She got up to go on her own, and she was very pregnant at the time, and she is hit by a car and she loses the baby. She survives, but she loses their baby. And he is just like so completely devastated over this. And so this is revealed slowly over a series of scenes where he's at Woodstock, like to perform there, I guess, or something.
Well, no, he wasn't there to perform, but he was there because he's a very well-known musician at this point in time. And the entire book is sort of like egging the fact that he's going to be at Woodstock and something's going to happen at Woodstock. Yeah. And so we'd kind of been expecting him to be one of the performers, but it turns out that he's not, but he is sort of near the stage, and that's where his like tent is, and him and Aurora are staying. And then...
No, she's not really there.
No, but we thought she was, though.
Right.
We thought she was. And that's how it like slowly reveals to us, because he leaves the tent because he has to go get eggs for Aurora. Mm-hmm. And he gets really far from the stage, and eventually this other crack whore like pulls him into their trailer.
Yeah, like he's just like lost at Woodstock basically, like, and he's so high, and
he's so high, he's accepting substances from random people and going down. He's spiraling, actively spiraling.
Yeah.
And then he has this carton of eggs. He found some eggs. And he gets out of this woman's trailer after she's like trying to push herself onto him because it's Frankie Presto, and gets all the way back to the stage. I think he gets in a fight at some point, and then we realize that Aurora was never actually there. He was so intoxicated via the many substances in his system that he was actively having flashbacks to one of the most traumatic periods of his life.
Well, it was like 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
Something.
And oh my God, that was some shit.
Yeah, like they lost the baby, and then Aurora left, and he was just so devastated, and then in his confusion he ended up at Woodstock, and like all this stuff is happening. But then he ends up on the stage at some point. He wasn't even supposed to be there to perform, but because he's so well known, everyone just let him. Like nobody questioned him. And he played like this like iconic, like he just played out his soul.
Only
like,
him solo.
Just him solo, just with his guitar that he's had his entire life.
In the dark, I think.
In the dark, like there's nothing. He literally just found himself on the stage, played this like just absolutely played his soul out on this stage. And then he drops the guitar and smashes a beer bottle, and then like uses it to like cut up his hand because he hated music so much, because like it was because of his fame and his talent and everything that he felt he had lost everything, and he went down a wrong path. And so he just basically has this like absolute shining moment of his career musically. It was always like a musical legend of like who was that on the stage. It was Frankie Presto, and it was like a rumor that it was actually him.
But he would never confirm it.
Yeah, and then he does that, has an absolute breakdown, and basically damages his hand beyond repair. And then, like, disappears from the public eye. But while he's disappeared, he heals over time, and, like, some other things happen, and he meets some other people, and he reconnects with Aurora, and things slowly start to come back around. And he, like, they find a baby who was abandoned when they move to this island in New Zealand, and they find a baby who's been abandoned in the woods near their home. So they take her in. So they do end up having a child in the end. And like he eventually comes back around to playing music, and he does like practices to get his hand back to working. And it was never the same again, but he does still like play super well. And like
his daughter plays.
Yeah, his daughter plays. And so like they meet this like up and coming band, and he agrees to like work with them a little bit. And so, but his wife and daughter are there,
keeping his name off of the books.
Yeah, keeping his name off the books. He's like pretending to be like, he goes back to the name Rubio, and he like doesn't like want anything to do with it, and he doesn't want anything to do with his old life. And so it's just this absolute like healing story and healing journey through all this pain and heartbreak, and always he just comes back to music.
Yeah. And, like, you can tell that he still carries the past with him, but he's not letting it overtake him.
Yeah, and so when he's in the studio working with this up-and-coming band, the band had gone off somewhere to, like, work on something else that Frankie could be a part of, because they were just kind of, like, jamming. And so he's just in the studio with his wife and daughter, and so he decides finally to play for his daughter, which is, like, one of the first times that he plays for her. And so they're all like, you can hear them all like laughing and giggling and having a good time. And he's making faces at her and playing songs for her and everything. But the guy in the booth was recording the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And so this becomes the unreleased album of like Frankie Presto. And so he takes the recording and he labels it The Magic Strings of Frankie Presto. Mm-hmm. And so it just like is such a beautiful moment. And like there's just like the whole thing is just a whole bunch of series of like scenes like that are just so moving and haunting and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I like the way that it approaches trauma and loss and grief. But this book for me personally was very healing. I am very into music. I do deal with a lot of trauma. And so I feel like this book was like, it just spoke to me. It just spoke to me. I've picked up the piano again. I don't know if I told you about that. I've started playing. I've started playing again since reading this.
That's beautiful.
I hadn't played in years and years.
See, look how moving.
Yeah, for my own set of reasons, I had not played in years and years. And so it's just like, yeah, I'm like getting emotional right now talking about it. Like just like I was so
wonderful.
I know, I was so moved. Like this was a 5-star read, and I was not anticipating that at all. This was another one where I was like, someone requested a contemporary. I don't want to do this. And then here I am.
And then
like,
here it goes.
Struck in the heart.
Fucking slapping.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And it's just like, I love music. I love music. I've always loved music. Music has always moved me and spoken to me, and I hear it everywhere. And like, I used to play like 7 different instruments. Like this book was for, I think this book is for everyone, but especially like, you know, people like me who
agree,
love music, and music is like fundamental. Like it's fundamental to human beings. Like the music is a special kind of universal language. In the same way that math is, but we're not going to talk about that. But
I don't speak that language.
No. But music is a special kind of universal language. Like you can feel like there's storytelling in it. There's like, okay, I'm going to make a recommendation. Anyone, like, I don't care who you are. I don't care what kind of music you listen to. I don't care if you've never listened to a classical piece in your life. If you want to know what I'm talking about when I say that it's like fundamental and you can feel everything, the movement and the emotion and things like that, listen to Gustav Holst's The Planets, start to finish. Mm-hmm. It's about 50 minutes long. listen to it start to finish. It was written, it was composed. So there's one piece. It's a symphony, and there's one piece for every planet in the known solar system at the time.
Yeah.
And that one is like a prime example of like how moving music can be and how it can tell a story. And I feel like this book captures that, because like it encompasses classic rock, jazz, classical, like all kinds of different instruments, mainly the guitar, obviously, because Frankie Presto plays the guitar. And then also just like the life lessons from El Maestro. And there's something he said about how like you'll never find art at the bottom of a bottle. Or something.
Would you like
that.
a quote?
Yes, I would love a quote. Give me your quote.
Okay. Not to interrupt.
No, go for it. You should. I won't shut up. I'm sorry.
I existed before the first grapes were fermented, before the first whiskey was distilled. Be it opium or absinthe, marijuana or heroin, cocaine or ecstasy or whatever will follow. You may alter your state, but you will not alter this truth. I am music. I am here inside you. Why would I hide behind a powder or a vapor? Do you think me so petty? Page 116.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is like something that I have always fundamentally believed. I've never been high in my life.
She made a promise till her brain was done developing.
I did, but I actually don't intend to ever be high.
Which is fair.
Because I'm a writer and a creator, and you know, when it comes to creativity, I think nothing is worse for creativity than intoxication, as far as my experience goes. So like that just spoke to me about how like there's music personified telling you about how these distractions of like substances and fame and money and all of these things, like art is never made to make money. It's not a commodity. It's not something to capitalize on. It's great if you can and you can support yourself that way, but the point of art should never be to make money. Art is for the artist. And if it happens to speak to you too, that's wonderful. And that is the beauty of art. But the point of art is to be art. Like it's one of those things that, you know, everything we do in life, I'm so sorry. I'm like really going on.
No, I'm having a great time.
Okay. Everything we do in life, this is one of my dad's life lessons. Everything we do in life is to be finished, right? You cook a meal to eat it, to be done eating it. You do an assignment to finish the assignment. You go for a drive to get to your destination. Everything we do is to be finished. It's something to be completed. Art is the only thing that is not to be done. You're not doing it to be done. Art, the experience of art is solely for the experience of art. The point is not to be done.
Wow. That's a truth bomb.
And so I feel like this book speaks to that in a way that's like really beautiful, on top of everything it says about like humanity and music and how it's so like it's in us and it's part of who we are as humans. And so then that brings into question a whole bunch of lines of inquiry about what it means to be human. Especially, oh my God, especially in the face of AI, especially in the face of AI art and music and things that are starting to come out.
Oh my God.
You can't do it. You can't recreate it artificially. You cannot, because it's not to make money, and it's not to be done. You're not doing it to be finished. It's for the artist. And so I feel like this book is just so important for that. And also just like the music history in there as well. So my dad's super into music as well. So like I've grown up with him telling me stories about all these artists and classic rock and things like that. So to like see the music history like sprinkled throughout as well. Like obviously he's a fictional artist. I need to breathe. Holy fuck. Obviously Frankie Presto is a fictional artist, but there's a lot of like real artists that are made reference to, and there's like music history sprinkled out. And I just like, it was so grounded in reality, saying all of these things and making all of these comments about art and music and humanity, that I felt like it was extraordinarily effective at saying those things.
Is the beauty of contemporary.
Yeah. Okay, whatever.
In reality, it makes you feel like a person. It makes you feel like you're not alone in reality. Case in point.
Okay. You know what? Fine. Maybe I'm starting to see.
Thank you. We've done it, guys. So, wrap up the podcast. No.
But yeah, anyways, it you know what? It was a 5 stars.
Period.
Clearly it was a 5 stars.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. I loved this book.
Yeah.
That
was beautiful.
Sorry, I just went on for like 20
that
minutes.
was beautiful. 1, I was right. You were adorable. 2, this is where everyone learns how much of like just the most cinnamon roll type of human being that Hannah's dad is. I love him to bits, and he's always dropping these like truth bombs when you like don't expect them. It's great.
Yeah, he's a wizard.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So I have 2 more quotes.
Yes.
Yeah, because that's my contribution to the world here.
Yeah, you actually like took notes and were prepared.
Well, I took like a page. I didn't even write it myself. It's just quotes. So, yeah, we're going to thank Mitch Albom himself for these. So, thanks,
right.
Mitch. So, before we started as well, Hannah brought up you wanted to talk about the opening page because it's a very impactful start to the book. And I don't have the entire opening page, but I do have an excerpt from it. So sprinkled that in. Do I frighten you? I shouldn't. I am not death. A grim reaper in a hood, reeking of decay? As your young people say, please. Page 1.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I love that
Yeah,
that opening
I was like,
page.
right off the bat, the attitude, great.
I know, yeah. I love the personality of music as well. Like, it seems so accurate to me.
Yeah. Okay. All lonely roads lead back to music. I embrace you. I forgive you. I will never leave you. Can humans say the same? Page 164.
Oh my god. Yeah, there were some bangers in there from music.
There were some moments where it's just like, oh.
Oh my god,
okay.
yeah. It was just like having a conversation with my dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your dad is music.
He is a very musical man.
Exactly. The next are kind of 2 quotes, but they go together, and you are not going to be surprised that I wrote these down. So, page 177, how old is this dog by now? Minimum 17. And then page 178, the very next page, about that dog. Frankie is now 18 years old, which meant that his 4-legged companion was even older. And so this dog is basically immortal, okay?
Yeah.
This dog is like still spitting vinegar at the ripe old age of 18 plus, okay? That is insane. I worked with dogs for 2 years. I've met dogs that at 17, they're looking at a brick wall, just barking at it, and I go, oh, he's looking out the window. Okay, this dog is sprightly, all right? And you know the hairless dog in Deadpool? That's what I imagined it as the entire book. It's like a hairless pug type thing where it's small, it looks like a potato that's like balding, okay? So and he's the best. I love that little fucker. He's great. One of my favorite characters.
Yeah.
And he only died of natural causes. He lived a full, beautiful life. That dog was well loved. Okay.
Yeah. He was around for as long as Frankie needed him.
Exactly. Yeah. And then when Frankie didn't need him anymore, he just walked away.
Yep. Walked away.
He was probably like 27 years old at that point. Who's to say?
Yeah.
He's probably like 64. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. I said 2 more quotes. I've already given you 3, but I've got 1 more.
Okay. Go for it.
Last one. And you're going to like this one. It's from page 196. And it says, 6 souls. What are you talking about? In the woods, remember? You made your strings into flowers, and we put them on the graves? So? You did something for strangers. A kindness for 6 strangers. Maybe it's coming back to you. I doubt it, he shrugged. I'm just a guitar player. Aurora held his gaze. No, you're not.
Oh my god. I love their relationship too.
Right? Like, she saw him for who he wanted to be, as well as who he currently was. And she believed in him even when he didn't see it. And she brought him back down to reality when he needed it. And she would tell him how it was. She'd go, hey, you're fucked up right now, and it needs to stop. Or she'd go, yeah, you're great. You're one of the greats. You're going to be remembered.
But she also like was true to herself and always walked away when she needed to walk away.
Yeah, she took care of herself. She was a bad bitch.
Which is so interesting to see.
Yeah, and it's hard to do sometimes.
Usually the woman is the one making all of the sacrifices to do and be whatever she needs to for the man. Mm-hmm. But in this case, like, she walked away when she needed to walk away, and she came back when she felt that he was in a place for her to come back, and they were married the entire time, and it didn't matter, like, what happened when they were separated or where they went or who they might have met or whatever. They always came back around to each other, and she always just, it's like she just knew. She just knew when it was okay to come back. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't afraid to do what she needed to do and do what she wanted. And so I feel like they're both so chaotic and messy, but like in a way that complements each other so beautifully. And so they were kind of perfect for each other. And they fell in love when they were 9. Like, hello, that's adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that relationship.
Me too. So yeah, that is Frankie Presto. You have any last thoughts? No,
I feel like I need to stop. I feel like I've talked enough. I feel so bad about that. Like, I just like totally went and didn't even like, I got going. I even said to myself, I was like, I'm going to be normal about this. And I just couldn't.
No, it was wonderful. I feel like this was the most glowing review that this book could ever receive, especially when, you know, it comes from such a personal place and you can really feel that. And that's why I was so excited to record this, because I know that, you know, this book was like a very personal connection, and, you know, it's going to hit people in so many different ways and people can take so many different things from it, but they're all super, you know, deep and integrated into who you are as a human. And I think that is really cool when a piece of literature can touch so many people, regardless of what part that, you know, you're connecting to.
Yeah, it did a lot of things.
It did a lot of things. It did a lot.
Yeah. Like I only talked about my main takeaways here. I did not even go into the nuances. Like, I swear to God, I need
exactly.
like a Substack or something. Like, I need to, like, I could write books about this book.
Write a paper. I'll post it on the Instagram.
Okay, we just start a podcast Substack. Like,
exactly. You know what?
With my literary criticism.
We got to get the feelings out somewhere. That's what it's for. That's what it's for.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, speaking of the Instagram, you can find us on Instagram and Threads at Badly Annotated Pod. And you can email us at badlyannotedpod@gmail.com. Tell us if you read this book. Tell us if there's other books that you want us to read. Tell us if there's books that you think we should never pick up ever, and we'll probably read those too. And with that, best wishes, kindest of regards.
Sincerely, Jess and Hannah.